This is the Drop the Clutch podcast, a fan-run podcast full of guests, controversy, and opinions about the sport we love that sometimes drives us insane. Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 30 of Drop the Clutch. I can't be joined by a regular co-host, Frankie, and our guest, Tom Brennan. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm all good.
Very nice. We can begin with questions. Firstly, how was your season, Tom? How would you rate your season?
Wow, where do we start? How much time you guys got?
It
was. I think to kind of summarize my season, it was. I kind of used the word average quite a lot, because I sort of believed that there was some results in which obviously you can do better, and then obviously some results in which you sort of believe you've done well. At the same time, that's obviously the kind of nature of racing. It's so like it's so like up and down. But yeah, I mean, as like a whole, I've kind of enjoyed racing for my teams. I've enjoyed representing team in Great Britain, which was like a massive thing for me. And as far as it goes, yeah, I would, my kind of averages have gone up once again. So it kind of only shows that we're improving, and naturally we're always progressing. So yeah, I would sort of summarize as my 2023 season is average, but still improving, which is ultimately the main thing.
Well, that's good. We heard recently that you got a message saying you weren't included in part of Glasgow's team plans for next season in the Championship. Mm-hmm. Have you got any plans to join another Championship club, or are you leaving that behind next season now?
Well, it's funny you say that, because it was funny, right? Because I actually had a call from Glasgow. It must have been maybe about a month ago, explaining that I was on the list of quite a long list of riders that were kind of not participating in a championship for the 2024 season. This was then handed out to all of the promoters, which then effectively kind of pushed me out of a job. Which was really disappointing, because I had not mentioned this to anybody, so it was sort of like word of mouth, and they then sort of put it into, oh no, he definitely isn't doing it, and it kind of was a little bit upsetting to kind of know that clubs weren't asking me for to actually come and ride for them purely on the basis that they didn't think I was in the league next year. So that's kind of where we kind of kick off the off season. Really, that's how it started, which wasn't a fantastic way. And then, I was kind of throughout the year, throughout 2023, I was kind of umming and ahhing as to seeing what my future would hold, whether it would mean I would have to drop Championship to try and commit to Sweden. And then on further kind of notice, we then realised that actually it probably is all possible if we're prepared. That's the massive thing. If we have like enough equipment, if we have the right people around me, then obviously anything is possible. So yeah, I've had some interest in Championship, which is really good for me. We're kind of trying to decide now whether we're actually going to stick into Championship or not, and that decision will probably be made in the next few days. But I can't kind of say 100% for now, which way I'm going. And yeah, as far as I'm aware, I would have probably loved to be able to sort of still compete in the two leagues here in England. This is sort of where I started. This is where I grew up, and this is where this is like one of the main things to kind of improve and build on my career. So hopefully, as you say, we can get a Championship club sorted soon, and and then we can work on the top league.
You mentioned
so
the
no
top
is
league.
actually your answer.
That's exactly where I was going as well. What went wrong with Bellevue in the playoffs? Serious question.
Yeah. Oh, well, the playoffs are like such a big kind of such like a big kind of moment. You can do as good as you want all year. You can be the best team on paper. You can be the best team as many points as you want, and it can all go away very, very quickly. In what happened with. Yeah, exactly. Which is what happened with Bellevue. The team was really strong. The team was it was a really, really good team this year. Everything was ran really, really well, and it kind of, I don't know. I mean, sort of 2022 when we actually won the league, it kind of felt we're a little bit of underdogs. It didn't really feel like it was something that we were kind of used to being up front, and all of a sudden we then were kind of leading going into the playoffs, and we were we were sort of predicted to finish there, you know, and some didn't click. I think the majority of the work which we messed up was at Ipswich. Obviously, the first leg, that was like a huge disappointment for all of us, because we'd obviously worked really hard all year to be there, and then all of a sudden none of us really kind of showed up. I mean, there was a couple of us that did, but ultimately it was then such a huge gap to kind of take back with us to Bellevue, and we gave it everything, and some of the boys did an absolute phenomenal job, and I think it was some of the best racing you've seen all year. So, but that's sometimes what happens. Speedway's a pretty tough sport sometimes.
Do you reckon you left up too much of an uphill battle at Ipswich to chase back?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That was, unfortunately, that's kind of, you give yourself, it was a 22-point deficit, was it, or something like that? Or 18 or something. 18. It was crazy. I mean, we were all still positive, which was good. We all had that mindset of we're actually going to go win, and that's kind of how you have to be to obviously try and like reach the top, really. So, yeah, it was just ultimately that kind of like first round led us on like a massive uphill battle, really.
And of course, you're down Charles Wright. The National Speedway Stadium is more of a leveler compared to other stadiums. There's not much of a home track advantage there.
No,
you'll struggle, but
yeah,
you did as much as you could.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so we did most we could, but it was just unfortunately not quite enough, really. But we learn, and I'm sure we're all a move forward from that.
And then, of course, go on, Ruth.
Do you think you'll return to Bellevue next season?
My future in Premiership is really, really unclear. I mean, it's actually a really horrible time of the year now for a. I can sort of imagine for any sort of sportsman, really. It's kind of it's a lot of uncertainty. It's kind of a lot of ifs and maybes, and the stuff with the teams with the whole points limits and what's happening with the league next year. Is it going to change or not? And ultimately, my kind of respect lies with Bellevue. So I kind of will wait for them to make a decision based on what they're given. If I'm honest, my return on Bellevue probably isn't looking the greatest right now. But at the same time, we never know. Speedway is such a numbers game that you kind of don't really know. But in terms of Bellevue, they've been absolutely fantastic for me. So we've had like a massive good run, and hopefully we can sort of continue that. But if not, hopefully some other doors will kind of open for me.
Just saying, my hometown club are possibly going up to the Premiership next season if they're running.
I heard that actually. I went to the under-19s yesterday. That was interesting.
I know. I walked past you in the pits last night as I was going home.
I was with Nathan Ablett, so I kind of was helping him, and we've obviously grown up together, and he ended up coming second, but it was a real close second, and congratulations to obviously one of the Thompson twins for winning. I think it was Dan, but no, it was like a fantastic effort from him. But yeah, I actually went there, and on the tannoy they're like, oh yeah, this could actually be the last meeting, and then it's like, well, actually no, I think we're actually going to go up to top league, and I'm like, well, okay, that's kind of something that sounds quite interesting. But I think for the whole kind of sport in general, they would need at least 6 teams in that Premiership for it to function, really. So like, and also obviously Wolves shutting down, which is a huge great shame for the sport. But with like Wolves shutting down now, it kind of brings those crowds kind of hopefully back into Birmingham. That's the plan anyway.
Fingers crossed they've got access to the stadium, because from what I've heard so far, that with race nights and everything, it's quite unclear, like Nigel said last night.
Well, what's Bellevue's race night at the moment? Wednesday? Birmingham, sorry.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would be a Thursday then.
No, Mondays, I've been told.
I mentioned on a Monday.
Oh yeah, it's because of the deal with the Polish division, isn't it? Okay, fine. I forgot that existed.
Yeah.
Where's our notes? So then, of course, the next question: Speedway of Nations next year from the Speedway World Cup last year. Where do you reckon Team GB will be in the Speedway of Nations?
Oh, they'll win it.
You reckon?
For sure. Yeah,
we don't even know where it is yet.
Yeah, they'll win it. Dan Bewley right now is like potentially, I think, one of if not the fastest rider in the world. And I I know they can sort of, like 2022 for him was like a massive standout year, but at the same time, he still is definitely, I would say, one of the fastest guys in the world. And then also you got Lambert and Ty, and those guys still in the Grand Prix. Ty's sort of coming back up there, and he's like a triple world champion, so you can't deny that. And then Lambert's just coming on, and I think as far as that goes, I think that Team GV definitely do not have to worry about much. So we'll be rooting for him if I'm not there.
We hope you're there.
I have no idea what's in the minds of anyone. It's the end of the season. I'm completely lost. So but then, of course, yeah, whether you think you get a pick, I'd imagine you're nailed on for at least a spot in the squad. I don't know about necessarily race night, but definitely in the squad.
Yeah, I should hope so.
It's probably between you and Chris Harris, and to be honest, if Simon Stead picks Chris Harris, he can go and die.
Yeah. Well, you say that. I mean, it's you've also got Adam Ellis as well, who's also riding exceptionally well. And I know he hasn't got a team spot here in the UK due to circumstances, but he's riding really good abroad. So he also did a really good job for a World Cup also. So at the same time, it'll be a tough one. I would love to be involved in that squad again. I learned a hell of a lot doing that the last few years, and if they want me, whether it's for me to go to Finland or whether it's for me to go to Czech Republic or wherever, I'm always there, kind of representing my country. And if I can be in that squad, I will be. But yeah, as far as riding goes, I think those top three are obviously nailed on, and then it kind of goes from there. But we will obviously try our best to improve and show the management that we're kind of capable of that. And if the spot comes around, then we're ready. So.
Yeah, very nice.
Good to hear. I think we're pretty much out of
I've got a couple more. I've prepared a load, but
go on then.
Quick fire round, Tom.
Okay, interested.
2024 Premiership champions. Knowing nothing about the team selections, what will you say?
Ipswich.
You reckon?
Yeah. Because I should tell you why. Because every team that comes second the last 3 years is actually going to win the next year. So that's kind of my thing. If you look at like Bellevue comes second in 2021, and then they won in 2022, and then who comes second in 2022 was Sheffield, and Sheffield won this year, and then who comes second was Ipswich. So Ipswich is going to win next year. That's
good reasoning. That is.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
There you go. I was obviously planned for that question. Clearly,
I think this is what happens when you take out one of the two more dominant clubs in the top division in the last few years. But okay, then. So Championship champions. Don't say Paul.
Yeah, Paul. I think I would say Paul because Paul are always there. Paul are such a strong team, and they've always had a strong team.
I have no idea how Midler does it, honestly.
And also going to, it might not always be the strongest on paper, but for sure Midler knows how to get those, the same as everyone there. I mean, is it Matt and Danny Ford? They obviously seem to know how to make it work there, and they kind of have the setup pretty good. So, I mean, and also going to Poole as like an away rider is absolutely dreadful. I cannot think of a worse track to go to because it's so challenging. It's a very simple track. There's nothing too special. There's no, anything trick about it, but there's just something about that place that if you kind of go there under like prepared, or if you kind of take it for granted, you will be bitten by it. And
that's what
those guys have.
Very daunting for what it is, basically.
Yeah, and as soon as they get on a roll, they continue it every single year. So I'll put them down as champions for sure.
Fair enough. I put my notes document in the same web.
As well as Glasgow. I mean, Glasgow are a good team. I mean, we obviously won this year, which was fantastic. But I think in terms of next year, I think that'll be the way.
Yeah. Fair enough. In that case, world champions, go. There's probably who you want to win and who's likely to win going in your mind at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be silly to not say Smarslick. He is on a different level right now, and he's the things he does on the bike is pretty scary to watch. In fact, it's quite annoying to watch because you kind of that there's something he's doing that's special, and
I think it's called riding.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got like Freddie and you got Jack Holder that are coming on really good, and Freddie got so close this year. And then you got you got some other guys. I think who's the wild cards this year? I know that.
Pass.
I know that. Yeah, I know there's Kubera. Did he get a wild card?
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be good. He's always been good. But I think I would like. I'm going to say Dan. I reckon Dan could go do it.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think he can. I think his kind of outlook. It's funny because you kind of mentioned like Dan and like a lot of people have this kind of assumption that he's like real laid back and he doesn't really care and he's sort of doing his thing. But Dan actually really cares and he, he's definitely coming on a long way. So I'm sure he can find something special for that.
Well, he certainly has in the last few years.
Yeah,
Can't deny for that.
We'll see. It could be a strong one to say, but
yeah,
Smarzlik's there, isn't he? But
yeah, there's no real challenge for him, and there hasn't been the last few years.
No.
This one could be interesting. Speedway of Nations winners.
Speedway of Nations. What? That's the pairs one, right?
Yeah.
Team GB, all the way. All the way through.
Is that who you want to win or who you think are going to win?
No, that's who I think. I think if you look at it, like you have Poland, which obviously Poland are going to be good, without a doubt. But Poland have Smarzlik, and then they kind of have, like you said, they have Kubera, they have Dudek, and people, and like Janowski. But I think to back up Smarzlik, I think there's a better backup in Team GB than there is in Poland. And I think if you put Lambert and Dan and Ty all together, they I mean, working with them in the World Cup too, just being a part of that squad and how they all work, and they're all on the same engine tuner, which is a huge thing, and everybody has the same ideas in their head, and that goes a long way compared to just what it is on paper, So yeah. Hopefully they can go do it, and I obviously want them to win, but I'm pretty certain they will too.
To be fair, Poland haven't won the Speedway of Nations yet.
No, when that shows, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know, do I, but. That shows there's obviously a lot. Although it's only a pairs meeting, it does kind of show it's like way more of a team kind of meeting than kind of what like people realise. They just think it's up the two riders, but really, who is that kind of third rider does a massive thing too.
What's going on behind the scenes as well?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the big one, British champion for next year.
I mean myself. Other than myself.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a tough one because one, if it's obviously the kind of location is like a big thing. Whether it's at Bellevue, whether it could be held at Workington or something crazy like this. You don't really know.
It's going to be
probably will be at Bellevue, but and also people like Lambert can come back and do it. Ty might even come back and do it. Like you don't even know the lineup just yet. People obviously can get injured, and there's new guys coming up. Like there's you've got like I think it's Ashton Bowden's coming up and he's looking really good, and then you've got like people that are going to hopefully be joining that kind of British lineup, which can make it a lot more interesting. So yeah. I will put myself down and win that meeting, but yeah, because I definitely want to say anyone else.
Backing yourself all the way. Very nice.
So as much as I hate saying that, I don't want to say anyone else. So.
That's the end of the quickfire round. Ruth, have you got anything before I carry on?
Honestly, I'm going to get a bit, I don't know. Well, the first time I saw you ride was at Birmingham in 2016. And I was like in the playoff final, and I was like, I'm going to keep my eye on him because I know he'll go far.
I was dreadful, wasn't I? I think I was dreadful that night. I think I scored like 2 points. No, I might have done okay actually, because I remember was Jack Smith at Birmingham too?
Yeah.
And was it Jack Parkinson Blackburn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I didn't do too bad, but I was absolutely terrible on the bike. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
I vaguely remember just watching going, I reckon he'll go far. And I was telling my dad this, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, my dad doubted you, and I was like, well, look at him now, and he's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, we've come a long way since then. I remember it's funny because people are like to me, were you like real natural with Speedway, and was it just something that you just managed to do? And I mean, yeah, I've always been natural on a bike, and I've always enjoyed racing Speedway, and I've had crazy help from a lot of people to kind of get where I am now. But I remember like turning up in that meeting like around about 2016, and remember I kind of had my first race in National League, and it was on my 15th birthday, and I decided, I was like, yeah, we're going to go for it. I signed for Eastbourne, and it was fantastic, and dropped the clutch. I was completely stone last, did one lap, and then ran straight in the back of somebody, and then broke my collarbone. And that was my kind of introduction to Speedway. And it was like, it's quite funny because everyone's like, oh, you've kind of always been there and you've always done this. And I remember, at one point getting smoked by everybody, consistently every single week and being so far back. And then going to, Birmingham and places like this, which was would have been the first playoff, playoff final or something. Yeah. And it's funny because you kind of watch myself then and I think, wow, you're absolutely dreadful, But it's and now it's kind of funny because you see the progression and all that sort of stuff. So no, I appreciate that though. That's cool that even somebody remembers that.
I remember that night because I think it was a 16-point deficit we overturned.
Yeah, I remember. I can't even remember what I did. I remember one race. And I remember actually, if Jack Smith is going to watch this, it'd actually be quite funny because I beat him in a race and I was so out of control in the first corner, and I think I ran in the side of him. And after the race, he come past me and took my cutout out from the switch, right? And I remember thinking this could be my first fight, and this could be the most incredible moment of my life. And then I remember him just going to the pits, and then that was the end of that because I was way too frightened to go over, even go near him. But it was kind of, at the moment, it's funny because, we're talking about now and we're laughing. It was like in the moment though, it was pretty intense, but it was also funny. So,
I mean, at least he didn't do you one back after the race, was right on the side of you.
Yeah, no, I probably should have done. That'd have been the better option, I reckon. So.
I was doing my research for earlier. I didn't actually realise. I think I was at your first Premiership meeting in Swindon. You guessed him for Swindon.
Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah. Wow, I'd have been 16 or 17 then, maybe something like that.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have been 16. 17. Yeah, that was crazy. That I remember because I was just racing National League, so I was just racing for Eastbourne, and it was. I actually was born in Swindon and kind of grew up in Swindon, so that was where I first went to Speedway. Yeah. That's where I first went to Speedway.
Swindonian.
Yeah. And I have all my memories there, so it was like I remember having the phone call from Roscoe, and he's like, do you want to come and guest? And I'm like, I don't know if you want me to come do that. Like I race National League and anyway, he's like, yeah, come. And I was like, brilliant. So we went up, we turned up, and I mean my colours are obviously still purple and yellow, but back then it was proper purple and yellow, everything was just plastered in these different colours. And I showed up and I kind of wheeled my bikes into the pits, and it was Troy Batchelor was there, and he kind of looked over, and everyone looking at me like, who is this guy? And then it was funny because he goes to Roscoe, or he might have gone to my mechanic at the time. He goes, can the guys from a National League actually slide the bike? And I'm stood there like, oh my god, like this is quite bad because I've got all these colours. Yeah, I've got all these colours. Oh. But anyway, that happened, and then I went out and got a pavement in Heat 2, and it was probably one of the most amazing feelings of my life. And I remember it was a paid win, but it felt like it was the world title at the time, and that will always stick with me forever. So
yeah, welcome to the Premiership.
Yeah, I remember it because it was Verena and raced for Frederick Jakobsen. That was it, Frederick Jakobsen. Yeah. And I remember they were two abroad riders that had come in, and they're really good. And I was off gate 3, made a blinder, and it was me and Zaka Wojnek. So that was a cool thing because me and him get on really good too. So it was like we kind of grew up doing grass track together. So it all just felt like right place, right time.
Yeah, definitely.
So
in that case, we can go back in time. What brought you into Speedway?
Wow. Okay. So Speedway, I sort of count that as my kind of grass track career as well, because that's where it all started. So
fair enough.
I actually remember I would have been 5. and I could get a license, a ACU license, as soon as I turned 6 years old. And I remember on my sixth birthday, I kind of was waking mum up, going, "Oh, mum, you know, you can get me the license to go and race grass track now." And that's where it all started. And it was my brother used to race speedway, and in grass track. He got to like nationally kind of like championship level, and he kind of introduced me to everything, and I kind of tried to follow in his footsteps and all that sort of stuff, and ended up winning a couple like youth British championships on the grass track. And it was actually Zach Wojnek kind of like basically gave me my first bit of bike, and that's kind of how I then kind of progressed through that. And next thing you know, I then met Martin Dugard, which is obviously a massive name in the sport, and he basically took me underneath his wing. I kind of treat him as my stepdad, and he helped me a long way. And from there, we then managed to get on the junior bikes. We had a hell of a lot of bike problems and all this sort of rubbish, and then, like you said, and then we went up to 250s, which was a huge step. We had a Summer Martin's tuning going on there, which was interesting. If you made 4 laps, it was fantastic. But no, it was good. And anyway, and then like I said, and then I kind of count my actually professional career starting in 2021 really, because before that it was obviously National League, which I raced for Respawn 2017, 2018, and that was fantastic, and won a few titles there with obviously Conor Dugard, and those are some special memories there, and that was a great time in my life. And how we move on, and yeah, wow, and then I broke my leg really bad in 2019. That's when that happened, and then I was out for the whole year. I then was out for all of 2020 because of COVID. I got real fat, and that was about it. And then I kind of didn't really know what was going on. And then 2021, I was actually working in the butchers. It was funny because in the winter, I kind of was working the butchers just down the road. And I was working there. It was okay. It was definitely a learning experience. Just to earn a bit of money, and then I got a phone call from Lemo, and he's like, "Oh, we're doing this Rising Star thing," and I was actually the last pick of the whole league. I was the last one. All the riders had been taken, and I was the last pick. And he was like, "Do you want to come ride for Bellevue?" And I'm like, "Yes, please. That sounds fantastic." And I then obviously met my girlfriend in 2019, and obviously her and her dad and her brother and that's then my kind of I kind of would definitely say that like they're now my family, and they've looked after me massively. And Craig Cummings is he's given me this place to kind of work on my bikes, and the amount of knowledge he's given me and support it's been incredible. So as you say, that's where we're at now. So we don't want to kind of let off right now. We've been building up a long time for this, and yeah, we just need to keep progressing forward, really.
Funny you say
you see you in the Grand Prix stage one day.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Track reserve.
Yeah. Done that.
Funny you say that you were last picked the Rising Stars in 21, because by my count, you're the only rider to have benefited from that program so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, for me, I understand it, because in 2019, if you look at, even 2018 and 2019, the last full year I actually raced before COVID, I had started the year with Eastbourne in the championship. I was at reserve. I probably was scoring, I had a good couple scores, but then also some pretty average scores. And then we're still racing National League. So yeah. As soon as I got injured, it was then I was out all of 2019, had no racing. Which people forget so quickly. It's even like I feel really sorry for what is his name? Thomas Jorgensen, because he's been out the majority of the year, and it's like so quick. People can kind of forget what he's done start of the year. He actually had a broken back, and it was similar situation to me. And like before you knew it, 2020 started, and then the rules didn't come around, and obviously with all the restrictions, Speedway couldn't go ahead. So start 2021, I was a complete unknown. They didn't know if I was going to go out and go get however many points, if I was going to go get 0, or if I'd even make the year. And Bellevue put a lot of trust in me there, and I've got a lot of respect for them for that, because without them, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at now. If I hadn't got that opportunity, you never know what could have happened. So yeah, I was thrown last pick. I remember Lemo called me, and he goes, because he had nothing, he didn't know anything about me. I didn't even really know him, and it was I can't be going up the British Youth Championship for a long time, and yeah, they were just like, "Do you want to come race at Bellevue?" And you're actually the last pick because it was done on a grading system. So the team that finished last in 2019 got the first pick. Because from what I remember is they actually wanted Jordan Palin, Bellevue did, but obviously Peterborough got Jordan Palin before they did. So they were kind of left, and then they were last pick. So one of the last picks. So yeah, that's where it happened really. So
fair enough.
funny you say.
Yeah, you're the one laughing because look at how far you've come, and you've got a gold medal in the Speedway Nations to show for it as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, it's been a crazy time really for me. It's kind of from, as you say, start of 2021 to now. It feels like I've it's gone through so much and so like quickly I can kind of look back and like miss some of those real great memories that I've had. And yeah, I mean, Speedway's such a fast-paced sport that how do you say that, like memories and kind of things that you accomplished necessarily don't like kind of sink in. So for me, it's like it's all happened in the space of 3 years, and it's like, well, I'm now a world champion, which is ridiculous, and it's like I was part of that Team GB winning team, and then it's like I'm also like I've been to Cardiff, and it's like I've done that dream, and I've also finished on the podium in the British final, and it's like, wow, like I've obviously kind of got out the Rising Star scheme, which it was funny because I was talking to Lemo, and he kind of, the first year I signed there, he goes, "Oh, look, you're obviously going to be at reserve the whole year," and I was like, "Well, what happens if I get out?" What happens if I get out? And he's like, "Oh, it's been a little bit." I was like, that's probably not going to happen. I'm like, oh, okay. And then from that point, I just had in my head, I'm going to get out of this Rising Star scheme, and yeah, it happened. So I can look back and I can be proud of that. And just depends what the sport does now. Whether they look after the Rising Stars a little bit, because I've now graduated out of that their plan was to get me in. I've now got my average up, and now I'm just a number. So it's like, whoa, now what? So it's like, you kind of got me in here. You need to try and help me maintain a spot, but Witty, that's kind of on my terms. And as you say, I'm now like a free agent. So
to be fair,
we'll
second of your season's out of Rising Star, you sustain your average fairly well.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I put a point on it this year again, which is good. And yeah, I mean, averages aren't everything. Kind of team spots aren't made over what you kind of picked over if you're obviously riding good. But average is just unfortunately a number, which sucks sometimes, because you can work really hard, you can get your average up, and suddenly you're left kind of hang to dry because nobody has room in your team.
Racing yourself out of a position.
Exactly. So this is a position that kind of a lot of riders face, as well as a couple teams dropping out of the top league this year. That makes that position even more harder, and as well as people trying to join. The British Speedway has done a really good job in getting Ty back, and people like holders and people like this back, and they now need to find the room for them though. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Need more teams in the Premiership. 6 is not enough.
Exactly. They need at least 6 right now, because if not, then it's going to be a tough one to run a league on that, especially with Eurosport. So
they've tried it. I didn't think it worked, but there we go.
Yeah.
You have to make Paul go up.
That's not going to happen though. Paul dropped back because they couldn't get their race night, and ticket sales collapsed through the floor in 2019. That's why they dropped back.
Well, it's the same as Glasgow. That's their Friday is their kind of race night, and if they were to go to Monday or Thursday, like they said, Speedway in Glasgow isn't a massive thing. So if they were to go up a league, they don't know the difference between the riders. You could have Ty Woofenden stood there, or you could have, who else stood there, and they wouldn't know the difference. So at the end of the day, it's just Speedway to them. And
I mean, I can understand that if the difference was Ty Woofenden and Emil Sayfutdinov, but maybe not if it's Ty Woofenden and Chris Harris.
Yeah. Yeah, as you say.
What do you go against Chris Harris?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, everyone can have their opinions, but my opinion of Chris Harris is I could not say one bad word about him. He's really helped me this year. He's helped me last year, and when the finals come around, when he has to be there for his team, he is the ultimate team player. So
yeah. To be fair, there's no bad word you can really say about Chris Harris apart from thing that happens.
Apart from it keeps on beating us young guys.
Apart from that, but also one incident at the British Masters that he absolutely does not want to talk about.
Okay.
I was there. I won't mention it for the sake of him. But it was interesting.
Right.
But yeah, like you can't say a bad word about Chris Harris. Really, he gives it his all every meeting. But that brings us on to one of my next questions I had. Biggest role model for your career?
Wow. As far as role models go, I mean, like a role model, like I would never picture myself against them and be like, I kind of want to be like them. As far as a role model,
or is there any riders you look up to as wanting to be like them?
I always looked up to Chris Holder. Always.
Yeah.
Don't know what it was since I was tiny. It was always look up to Chris Holder, and then obviously Ty come around, and that was like that was another guy, and I always looked up to people. Like, I mean, Ty obviously does some crazy things, and he lives a crazy lifestyle, so that's kind of something that I wouldn't want to role model off. But at the same time, he's like he's obviously a fantastic bloke, and he's proven, you know, he's the only one in Speedway that's really been able to take his life outside of Speedway a little bit, I think. He kind of shown his personality. He just does what he wants, and that's the way he is. And he's obviously like an ultimate professional. But yeah, I mean, as far as my role models, I mean, you can always kind of look up to people. And I mean, I'm constantly on Instagram, or I'm on Facebook, or I'm looking at YouTube at old videos, new videos, different techniques, different mindsets. You know, all these different things make a huge difference. And yeah, there's a hell of a lot of people you can kind of get sucked into, for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, as a Swindon bloke, I was hoping you'd say Lee Adams, but never mind.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. He was one I used to like his colours when I was little. That's all I can really remember about him. But
the main thing I always remember about Lee Adams is he always knew where to put the bike. Never.
Always smooth. He was almost like in an armchair. So that was his thing.
Now he's in a wheelchair instead.
Yeah, no, and I hope he's doing all good. And unfortunately, that's a really tragic event, isn't it? So
yeah, from what I hear, he's well involved in Mildura and Victoria with the youth side in Australia. So he's doing all right for himself, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, doing all good, I think.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Did you catch the kids on the Revy bikes last night? Did you see that?
I saw the ones at Wolverhampton, obviously Bomber's son, and then I saw there was another kid on a bike there. That was cool. That's always so cool to watch. I didn't see him at Birmingham though. I turned up quite late, so I don't quite know if maybe I missed it. And I was actually working on Vinnie Ford's bike, believe it or not, because he had a lot of drama before the meeting, and as the parade came, I had to ride his bike out because it wasn't starting.
Did he blow an engine or something?
No, he actually punctured a few rear tyres fitting it, and then there was. Yeah, a few, two. But yeah, it was unfortunate because he had only had a few crashes, I think, like the few weeks previous, and he wrote all his bikes off. He only had one bike there, and things were on, you know, not particularly well, and unfortunately that's kind of their situation right now. But he's kind of trying to get through the year, and now that was his last one, so he can have a bit of relax and get ready for next year. But he rode his heart out. He rode really well, and that family is really cool too.
There was some good racing last night. It's just a shame it was so cold.
It was freezing, wasn't it? It was really cold. No, it was good racing. It's good to see those guys come on. I mean, I know there was a lot of riders that pulled out for whatever reason, and that's a shame because I believe if they were there and if you injured, if they were there, it would have made the competition a lot stronger. But at the same time, there's a few guys there, like a Senna race. You know, did you see him? That was his. Yeah. He started his Theo career 10 weeks ago or something, and he was already in the final. Pardon?
Fucking hell.
10 weeks ago, yeah, and he's kind of taken under the wing from Leon Flint, and it's he's a really cool guy, and he loves his. You know, he was funny because he's at the start line, and he's like, he completely missed the start, like he dropped it like 5 seconds late, and we're like, what are you doing? And he goes to Leon, he goes, well, I didn't know where I was looking. I didn't realize there was a green light because he's never really been involved in Speedway too much. And he's like, also, he was at the start line and he didn't know where it was. He's just like looking around, and then next thing everybody's gone. And it was funny.
Did he release the clutch because he saw the green light turn off or something? Like,
well, so everyone else go. Yeah, he's like, oh fuck, I better go. So yeah, it was funny. I mean, he's a great kid, and he's going to go a long way, I'm sure. And then you had like obviously, who else did you have? There was Nathan had a cracking night. He just lost it in the final, nutcase. But other than that, it was all right. And then Freddie Hodder's riding really good at the minute. He's coming on leaps and bounds, and I know he's working hard in Poland and Sweden too. So that's really cool to see. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good guys there. So hopefully in the next few years they'll be challenging me. That's the plan.
Is it though?
It'll be good. As long as I cross them first over the finish line, I'll be happy. But if not, then we'll have to pull the cut out after the race. No, it's all good.
Yeah, no, during the race, it doink.
During the race, yeah, exactly, yeah. I have to throw one of the banana skins out, behind me.
Red shell, just.
Yeah, exactly. All good.
Oh dear. Mario Kart Speedway, that would be mental.
Yeah, there you go. Make it happen.
Yeah, I'll get on the phone to Nintendo HQ later. But yeah, I think the last thing we can really discuss is abroad, Sweden, Poland. How is it going over there? What's your plans for next year, if there are any?
Yeah, so I signed a contract with Wooge in 2023. Well, actually, I tell a lie. I signed a contract with Wooge in 2021, which was my first kind of thing, and they had me for 2 years, which was a great time with them. They kind of looked after me really good, and I didn't really do much in 2021. It was obviously a bit kind of premature to where I was at, really, like realistically. And then 2022 come around, and they actually loaned me out to a club called Ravitch, and they were League Two, and that was a huge step for me. That was like I was racing in Poland every week then. I kind of learned the kind of lifestyle, had to fly, and that was crazy for me. Never even really caught many planes in my life, and that was a huge thing. And the racing too, the eye opener to how Polish BO work. That was it's funny because it's the same sport. You still do 4 laps around an oval track and all that sort of stuff, but it's really feels like a different sport there. It really is. It's like it's crazy. You can imagine. The only way I can describe it, it's like imagine if you're kind of filling your car up with some petrol, and the most simple way is to kind of do it like on your own, and you can just do it by yourself. But if you were to fill your car up in Poland, you'd have 6 guys come at you and take it off the handle for you and pass it to you, and then you've got to press the. So it's all exaggerated, It's like you've got suddenly 6 guys in the pits, and you don't know what half of them are saying, and then you've got this guy over here who's trying to find something, and it is crazy different. I mean, it's like so you need to be prepared for that, and it is win-win-win. You have to win in Poland. If not, you're not in the team, and that's pretty straight. And it doesn't matter who you are, if you're the best in the world or if you're just starting. So for me, that was Poland, and then 2023 come around, and I then went back to Wooge for 1 more year because they actually extended the contract, which was League One, and I was like, brilliant. Like I kind of felt like I did myself justice in League Two, and it was like it was kind of the right move to make. And unfortunately, I was probably watching more races than I was racing last year, which is really disappointing because I wanted to be racing, and I was in that number 8 rule. So I went to every meeting. I flew to every meeting. I had a full-time mechanic. I had 3 bikes in Poland. I had a van. We'd show up, get the bike all warmed up, do everything, and then we'd stand and watch a race meeting. And it was like, this is really not what I want to be doing. This is really just a very expensive way to go watch Speedway. Anyway, they then gave me a few shots throughout the year, but it would always be, might be heat like 10 or it might be heat 14. And it was like, I'm stone cold. My bikes I haven't got any chance of, really doing anything. And I kind of would get 1 point or I might get 0. And they go, well, look, you're obviously not on the pace. And for them, they obviously gave me the chance, but it was a really tough battle for me personally. And then the last meeting of the year, this year, it was versus Big Gosh, and they had nothing to lose. And I think Rune Holter was actually injured or something, and he did the first race and didn't do particularly well. So they took him out and put me in, and I then ran a 3rd place. And I thought, like a standard 3rd place. I was in. It was like heat 7. There's like a normal thing that I do to me all year. And then I come 3rd, and I was like, oh, that's me done. Like they're just going to tell me to go home. And then they gave me another race, and I won it. And they're like, oh my god, what are you doing? Then I gave me another race, and I come 2nd. And they gave me another race, and I won it. And they gave me another race, and I won it. And they were like, what are you doing different? How have you suddenly? And I said, you've had this all year. You've had this kind of all year, but unfortunately, it's been able to give me more than 1 or 2 races. And I hope, and I really wish Ruth like Ruth the best because they've helped me a lot. And last year was a struggle for me and them. So I obviously hope that they're all good. But have a new club in Gdansk, which is huge for me. Which is like they've kind of promised me a lot, and they've also promised me racing above all. Which is a massive thing for me. And the club seems like they want to win. And their slogan is we don't care, which is like a really cool thing for me because it was like we don't really care what the media says. We don't really care what anyone says. We're going to go racing, and that's kind of what they're about. And it's really exciting for me to be there, really.
Nice. What about Sweden then? You did anything over there?
So I did the Allsvenskan League.
Oh,
it's real funny because Yeah, it's like they have Allsvenskan, then they have the Bauhausliga, which is obviously the top one. And it was funny because they signed me. They were like, I had this guy on Instagram, and it was like a parts guy, Robert Eriksson, and he calls me and he goes, "Oh, do you want to come and race for this team I couldn't even pronounce in this league I couldn't even pronounce, which was obviously Allsvenskan, but I couldn't even say it. I was just like, right." And he goes, do you want to come and do three meetings for me and end of this season? And I was like, yeah, like that sounds really good. And luckily, I had some people to help me get there, and yeah, we went and did it. And it was funny because people were like, "Who are you racing for?" And I was like, "I actually don't have a clue." And they're like, "What league are you in?" And I said, "I don't have a clue." I said, "I'm just going to go here and I'm racing at this time at this place. Like that's what I'm doing." And it was funny because it was actually for the Sulcataners, I think it was called, which is like a team in Kumla or near there. Yeah. And I ended up just calling them the Sultanas all year, just like the raisin. I just called them that all year, and they didn't even notice any difference. So it's all right. I was just like Sultanas. It was great. So
yeah, close enough.
Yeah, it was great. And I was like, yeah, I'm racing Sweden, Sultanas, and everyone looked at me like Sultanas. I was like, yeah. I can't even say it, So that was a really cool thing for me. And then from there, hopefully, we're in the mix now. We're talking with some good contracts, and hopefully you'll be seeing me in the top league in Sweden next year.
Nice.
That's our plan.
So you go into 3 divisions next year. Bloody hell. Okay. And you still want to do championship as well. Like,
well, so the kind of position I'm in right now is, so if we take 2021, I did about 70 to 75 meetings throughout the year. And then if you take 2022, I suddenly did 120 meetings throughout the year. Because I obviously introduced Poland, I also introduced a lot more individual and stuff. And then 2023, and I then did 100 meetings this year. And it's like, okay, it seems, and 100 felt really good. 120 was, wow, well, it was way too much for what we had prepared for. It was just actually basically just down to me and Kyle, which is my mechanic, and wow, he did such a fantastic job to be able to keep up with it, and I was helping too, and we were tired, and it was a bit of a, we had a really good year, but it was good to see the back of that a little bit. So anyway, so for 2024, it's like I had the option of, if I don't do championship, I'll be left with about anywhere from 50 to 60 meetings throughout the year. But if I did championship, it could be from 90 to 110. And it's like, well, realistically, we know what we can do. We've done it for 2 years now, and I've actually in the process of building. We have eight bikes in total, which is a huge investment, and with engines and vans and toolboxes. Wow, it's ridiculous. Really
invested in fans.
Fans, yeah, vans.
Oh, vans, okay.
Vans, yeah.
I was about to ask the blowy kind or the shouty kind.
Yeah.
Never mind. No,
but it's it's funny. It's so much goes behind the scenes in Speedway, and it's like if we can prepare for this properly, my main thing is, as long as I can give the clubs 110% for which I signed for, then I'm happy. So, and to keep race fit, that's a massive thing.
Yeah, and then I hope your GB commitments don't interrupt everything as well.
Exactly, but if they do, they do. That's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to look at Drop the Clutch sponsoring you maybe then next season.
Well, there you go.
Get enough money together.
Exactly. Well, if you're up for it, you know where I'm at. So.
But
no problem.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But I suppose we'll wrap up there then, if everybody's happy.
I'm happy.
Thanks for joining us, Tom. We'll happily have you on again if you want to join us on again at some point, maybe close to the start of the new season. Cheers for joining me as a co-host, Frankie. And that's it for episode 30 of Drop the Clutch. See, wherever you catch the podcast, we'll catch you later. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
You've just finished listening to another episode of the Drop the Clutch podcast. Thanks for listening. We appreciate the support. Have a good week, and we'll catch you on the next one.